On Friday, Republicans passed a new $3.1 trillion tax cut with the help of 3 Democrats. Now, this passed the House of Representatives. We don't know if it's going to be able to make it in the Senate. It's very unlikely to actually pass before the midterms due to the complete unpopularity of the first tax cuts. Nonetheless, while most of the country was understandably distracted with Brett Kavanaugh in those proceedings, Republicans said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pass these giant tax cuts for the rich. Now, according to Fortune, the Down to the Wire 2017 Tax Act, passed in late December, contained a mix of permanent and temporary changes that had to result in a net increased cost that fell within the structural limit of $1.5 trillion. That allowed the Senate to approve the bill with a simple majority. However, these new tax cuts, well, they don't have to be passed by that simple majority. And that's, of course, why it is unlikely to pass the Senate now. So let me tell you what's actually in it and what kind of impact it will have. Well, according to tax experts, the extension of these taxes and a lot of what's in this bill is actually making some of these individual tax cuts permanent. But along with that, of course, there are massive giveaways to rich people and corporations. And in fact, it will mostly give most of the gains to the richest Americans. According to the Tax Policy Center, the individual tax cut extension would cut taxes for American households by $1,600 on average in 2026. But the gains would not be shared equally among different income groups. Now, the bill, according to Howard Gleckman, a senior fellow at the Tax Policy Center, the bill to extend the CJA's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, of course, individual and estate tax cuts, has the same structural flaws as the original. It is an enormous budget buster that primarily benefits high-income households. Now, let me show you how much it will impact different households. Now, the lowest income quintile, households that make up to $28,000 a year would receive an average tax cut of about $100 per year. Wow! So that's the average tax cut for people who are poor, right? That is a 0.5% boost to after-tax income. Those in the middle get a little bit more. They would get an average tax cut of $980 per year. That is a 1.3% average boost to incomes. People in the top 1%, however, will get an average tax cut of $40,000. $40,000. That is a 2% boost to after-tax income. And look, that's the top 1%. So in addition to what they have already received in the first round of tax cuts, that's about $60,000 extra dollars per year that they save in taxes. Add on another $40,000. That's how much they get to save per year in the top 1%, just from these tax cuts. Now, additionally, according to the Tax Policy Center, while most people, around 66% of households, would receive a small tax cut, 9% of households would see their tax bills increase due to the elimination of some tax credits in this bill. The other 25% would see the change in their tax bill of $100 or less. So this massively benefits, surprise, surprise, incredibly wealthy families. Again, they want to make they want to reduce the estate tax, and actually they want to eliminate the estate tax. Now, the package, they also mentioned, would add to the federal deficit, of course, and basically what that does is that now Republicans, after massively adding to the deficit, say, oh my God, we've got to cut spending. We've got to cut your Social Security. We got to cut Medicare. We got to cut food stamps. We got to cut all these social programs. We actually can't invest in the American people. And we have to raise taxes on certain individuals, people who are obviously not in the 1% and are not their donors. So that's the issue here. They're reducing revenue so that they can shrink government and issue more privatization. So that's the ultimate goal. to privatize most of what government does so that their friends in industry can make an extra buck. Now, the Tax Policy Center has estimated the entire package would add $631 billion to the deficit through 2028 and another $3.8 trillion from 2029 to 2038. The Tax Foundation also estimated that the move would decrease federal revenue by $576 billion through 2028 and $113 billion every year afterward, even when factoring in supposed economic growth benefits. And as I mentioned before, there will be a small boost to economic growth in the short term, but look, it's like you're running the government on a sugar high, is what's going on here. You give a little bit of tax cuts, and then what do they do then with those tax cuts? They don't actually go and create more jobs. They don't actually create or raise wages or create more benefits. No, what they do is that right now they have put billions and billions of dollars into buying back their own stock. That again creates money for shareholders, and then they cash out, filling their pockets, of course, with all that extra money that they save, which actually hasn't created more value for the company. So these stock buybacks from the tax cuts are creating nothing more than a bubble. And what happens to bubbles? They burst. They burst, and guess what? Guess when the last time we had a bubble that burst? What happened? It crashed the economy. You think that's not going to happen? No. If we actually pass this tax cut, if the Senate passes this tax cut, we're going to be even closer to an economic disaster. And of course, fortunately, most of the American people know that. And why they would do it so close to a midterm and why they would try to pass this, I don't understand. Or maybe, look, maybe it's because they know that this is the last chance that they have to try to push through their agenda. They can't sell this to the American people because the American people don't want it. In fact, according to a leaked Republican National Committee poll, American voters don't like the tax cut bill. They actually think, in a 2-to-1 margin, that this only benefited large corporations and rich Americans, which is absolutely 100% true. That is all that it benefited. Large donors and corporations. And yet they still try to pass this through. It shows you what their priorities really are. So, look, if somehow Republicans win the midterms and they get control, not only keep control of the Senate, but actually pick up seats, which I think is very unlikely, this is what they're going to try to do. More tax cuts for the rich, more deregulation, and, of course, Judge Kavanaugh. So, hey, everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.